everybody. I am so excited to talk to you guys about ADHD, emotion regulation, and kids. And I had to bring my friend, Dr. Diana, here with me because she is also an ADHD coach, a physician, and she comes in to the Teach Me ADHD community regularly to help support families. So I wanted to invite her today to also share her perspective about why it's important to be, sort of helping families, individuals with emotions. We just had a wonderful talk not too long ago, right, Dr. Diana, about this exact topic.
We sure did.
Yeah.
They inquired so much that I'm back.
I know. It's always so great. And, I want to just say, like, where else can you get two physicians in the room to be able to sort of ask questions like this,
Exactly.
Amazing. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Narissa Bauer. I'm a behavioral pediatrician. I'm based out of Indiana. I'm also the creator of Teach Me ADHD. As you know, agency doors are now open for classes that are starting March 20th. And I wanted to come on today because I wanted to share a little bit about the philosophy of why I think it's really important to help kids learn these skills. Now, those of you watching, how many of you have kids with ADHD and really struggle with strong emotions? Yes. Put it in the comments like, yes, me. Yeah. So as I'm waiting for your responses, just let me know. But it is a huge issue that I see and hear about in my classes with my private practice clients. It's just really hard when kids just feel and parents are like, I don't know what to do, especially if it happens in public, if it happens at school, and it leads to them having to be taken out of the classroom or at home after school when everybody is just so excited to be back together. And then, boom, it can sort of throw your entire evening off. And so it can be really hard to know, first of all, what to do in that situation, how to help kids, and then, kind of de-stress yourself so that you can approach that situation feeling calm and help your child really just get recentered. So I think it's really important too, when kids get diagnosed with ADHD, that they first of all understand what ADHD is and what it isn't. And they also need to understand, especially when it comes to emotions, how to begin identifying that, how to begin asking for help, and what common strategies they can do so that way they can feel like they are in control because they can be. It just can be overwhelming, right? Dr. Diana, do you have anything else to add to that? I mean, I know you work with a lot of professional women with ADHD. You're also a parent. I mean, so I'd love your experience about this.
Yes, and then I'm a family medicine physician, and I see obviously everything: kids, adults, newborn, you name it. And so, obviously, I also see kids with ADHD, and I treat kids with ADHD as a physician. And so, sometimes when they first get the diagnosis, like the only thing that parents know about is medications. And most of the time, they say, oh, I don't want my kids on medication. It's gonna, I'm not trying to change their personality or like the way they are, but can you just handle their emotions? Like, so I'm like, well, I mean, I wish I could, but I go, there might be something else going on there. And while medications can obviously help, right, they might be the fastest way for us to, within 30 minutes, they might work if they work for the kid, because everybody is different. And of course, those kids become adults, right? So it's important that they realize that they have ADHD, so that they can then better advocate for themselves once they are adults, right? Because if the parents never even tell the kid that they have ADHD and they set themselves up without having systems to help them, they tend to internalize after the age of 10 that there's something wrong with them, that it's human nature to compare ourselves to others. So if you're not given the tools how to support yourself, if you do think a little bit different, not that that's bad, but understanding that you can still do it your own way and you can still arrive at the outcome that you decide you want to get to, but you have to understand how your brain works and be curious. So while of course I will explain to them the pros and cons of meds, I right next to that discussion I talk about therapy, I talk about coaching, I talk about your group. I mean, because where else can they find support so that they can have a pediatrician tell them, hey, this is your zone of genius. Like, you can go through this adventure together with other people like you who think a little bit different or maybe think exactly like you. And then you're shocked. They're like, are they in my head? Oh my God, I thought I was the only one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, to be able to see ADHD as a superpower, like that's where, it makes a big difference, because if you don't realize that you think differently and then you don't get the tools to support you for that, then you always feel like you never reach your potential. Like that kid becomes an adult who, unfortunately might start using, alcohol, or might start using marijuana or sugar, or doing all kinds of other things that the body is asking for. I'm not trying to give them a way out, but the thing is, the body needs dopamine because ADHD is low dopamine, right? And so then you can easily see how things can get confused. Like if they're not completing the task that they think they should, and they can get angry and mad and irritated and frustrated, and they become like toddlers, right? Like even us as adults, we become toddlers, because it just doesn't make sense why we can't do the thing that seems so easy and every other person around us is doing so easily. Why can't we? And so we become this inner critic of ourselves again, because we don't even understand that we have this emotional dysregulation, this thing that becomes overwhelming to us when there's so many inputs, and we don't know that, okay, I need to step back and ask myself, well, what is the one thing I need to do right this second, right?
Right.
But we don't have that ability until somebody has taught us that skill, right? To us, it just feels like life is happening to us, and all we're doing is responding. And
Yeah.
most of the
Responding,
time, we're
reacting. Mm-hmm.
responding. It's not like, oh, I'm so happy to respond. It's like, right?
Yes.
And so like you could easily see, like when you turn around and you're like, oh my God, their room's a mess. Like I told them XYZ, right? And so you come at them, and what do? Human nature, right? They want to defend themselves. Well, I'm not gonna do that, right? They couldn't tell you, Mom, I was so overwhelmed, I didn't even know where to start. Like they can't voice that out loud. They can't tell you that in their mind they already had like plans, they already had ways of batching things, but that now you're asking them to do something different, and that task switching is setting them off. Not that
Yep.
they want to, it's just that that's happening.
Yep.
And so now when you're teaching those skills to them, they don't make it mean that they're a bad person. All of a sudden, it's not them, that they are not a good person, or they're not a good boy, or they're not meeting your expectation. It's just that their brain is thinking differently. And for somebody who doesn't have ADHD, it's not a big deal. Okay, well, she said, stop doing that, start doing this. Okay, I can do that. For us, we want to do everything, but we then become paralyzed. Well, where do we start? Well, how do I know that one? The bed is more important than the desk. Well, the desk looks like a mess, but that looks like it's going to take 3 hours. But the chair, I think I can do the chair. And then you just do, and nothing happens. And then you
Yes.
walk in, and you're like, what have you not, what you been doing? You've been standing there for 20 minutes. And they're like, I have? I thought it was 2. And then you
Oh, that time blindness. Yes. Yeah.
and then you go at each other, right? And then like guess what? Nothing gets done, right?
Yeah.
But if you are aware, oh, my kid, it's not that my kid is trying to piss me off. It's not that my kid, but okay, how does he think? Maybe let's do together a checklist. Like, Okay, what makes sense to you? Like, where do you want to start? And like doing it together, all of a sudden, it's like they have ownership of what they need to do. And all of a sudden, you don't have to be thinking for them and all the other people in the house, including the husband, right? That all of a sudden we're thinking for everybody. And then it's just bad. And I'm sorry, sometimes a husband carries more load. Luckily, my husband carries my load. Like he cooks and he does different things for me. I'm glad, 'cause I feel like he was my ADHD med for the last 2 years prior to starting my meds again. And so, like, it's just, it's okay if they love you and they give and take. But unfortunately, the reality is that if you don't realize how to communicate and how to use those emotions as a compass,
Mhm.
then those kids again grow up to be a moody teenager, to be an adult that maybe they don't stay married long enough, right? Or that they don't realize that time blindness, or they feel like, oh, it's a month away. Oh, I have plenty of time. All of a sudden, it's like 2 days away. You're like, oh, wait, what? What happened? Like,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
and so all this is important because anything that we do is always based on emotions. Like, why do we buy a house, right? Like, why do we get married? Why do we apply for to an Ivy League school? Like, why do we decide we want to be a lawyer or an accountant or engineer or a firefighter or a policeman? Why? Because of how we feel we're gonna come out the other side. And listen to this. ADHD is not something that's going to hold you back. But if you don't know how to use it, it definitely can. It's a double-edged sword because again,
Yeah.
I just told you, we think we have plenty of time, and then the deadline comes, and then you miss the application, and you cannot apply to your dream job, right? And then you're like begging them, and then they say yes, and you still don't apply it because you're like, well, I don't know, And you're like, oh my God, just make up your mind, right? And so that's the brain having, Dr. Hollowell says, demon and the angel.
Mhm.
He says you have the part of the brain that says, you got this. It's like totally like all in. You don't even know how many steps it's going to take, but I got this, right? Kind of like entrepreneurship, right? And then you have the demon that says, oh no, you don't got this. When did you do this? You've never done this before. What are you thinking? Like last time you tried to do that? Remember what happened? And then the other one's like, nah, that's not right. Right? And so having the right coach to tell you, okay, we cannot ignore the demon because your brain's meant to keep you safe, but we can't just stay paralyzed and not live our lives, right? But we still have to bring your friend courageous in the front seat so that we can live life on our own terms. But it's a balance, right? And so I wish somebody would have told me when I got diagnosed in medical school, hey, go seek a therapist. Hey, go seek a coach, Of course, now I have the means and the resources, and, $50,000 later, investing into my own brain, I can talk to you about this without skipping a beat. But I was in my head before.
Mhm.
So I didn't think like that type of investment like I could make on myself. And not everybody is able to do that type of investment. But you know what? I've learned that my brain is the most powerful tool I have, right? Because if I'm feeling like at ease, if I am thinking I don't have the answers, but who can I ask to find the answers? Now I'm at a different mindset. And so emotions are so powerful because they tell us, yes, I'm working towards something, I'm going the right way. Or they can tell us, ooh, that doesn't feel good. Like this feels like too much work. Or this, but be careful with those thoughts too, because maybe we again forgot all the other steps. Of course, it's too much work if we try to eat the elephant in one bite,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
so it's just a compass. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It just helps you recalibrate. Okay, why am I thinking it's too much work? Okay, what step did I skip? Okay, why am I mad? Okay, why am I sad? Okay,
Mhm.
why am I frustrated? And then if you step back, then you can see where you skipped something, or we made an assumption of something, or misinterpret something, right? Because We all do. It's human nature. Remember, everything that comes in at us, we're interpreting, and we're really good. People with ADHD are really good at reading the room. And so sometimes we can't even explain to you why we know certain things, and then we doubt ourselves, and then all kinds of other drama happens there, right?
Yep.
But like, you have that sixth sense, and sometimes we trust it and sometimes we don't. And it's when we start to really surround ourselves with people who are telling us and they have our best interest in mind, right? Like a coach, like your physician, like your therapist, like your parent. Then you set them up for skills. Like, I mean, I am so grateful that you have this course. Of course, if one day my kids are a little small, 3 and 4, but if one day, they have ADHD, I hope you're still doing this because we're coming, because you know how it is, right? Like, the parents can say all the right things, but it doesn't matter, right? In one ear, out the other. It just, that's the way it is. But when you're hearing it from other people outside of them, they can read your energy. They can see that you're doing this for their betterment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so your course will set them up to be able to have all the tools to be able to design their system. So with or without meds, they can regulate their emotions. They can figure out, oh, if I leave the keys by the door, I'm not mad the next morning, and so it's understanding, how can I work with my brain to support me, and how can I use what is right here, and what better way than to interactively do it. I mean, I don't know, I've been there where I bought all kinds of books that I never opened, right? All kinds of courses that I was like, oh yeah, this seems great, until I got how thick it was, and I was like, right? And so, of course, the mind and how much am I spending, and it's always in the back of your mind. But the way you're doing it, interactive, detective, like teaching, it's like, you can't, like, the more you engage all the things, like the thinking, feeling, emotions, like the better you're going to learn, right? And the better you're going to empower and then see others, right?
Yep.
And so that's why I do my group coaching, not because I feel like, oh my god, I'm going to put them all together in a room, but because when people see different ethnicities and different specialties, and they're like, oh, you too, it normalizes the situation. And then
Yeah.
you come to realize, oh, wow, we all have our zone of genius, and we all have our strength, and nobody's meant to be perfect at everything. And sometimes doing a messy draft, that's the way life is. Like,
Yeah.
life is a draft, and then
Yeah.
new information comes in, and guess what? You modify it, right? But when you're so in your head that you don't even know how to start the draft, we miss the deadlines, and we don't even
Yes.
have a chance at that point, because
Yes. Yeah. And it's so interesting that you say that, because again, you work with professional women, and I think it's not too early to start working with kids. The courses for kids 8 to 12, to begin to have this toolbox, to have this language. And since parents and kids learn together, they learn to talk with each other, to work together, to collaborate together, and to have a deeper understanding about the ADHD brain. A lot of things that you were alluding to: emotion regulation, task initiation, prioritization, time management, sustaining attention, but then shifting attention. All of these things are things that are challenges for the ADHD brain. And we talk with kids in this course about these different things. And so everything is intentional to begin to work on this. So, like, even the simple fact of when they get their supply box sent to their home, there's 9 bags in there. One is clear, the rest are dark, so you cannot see inside. There are specific instructions that you must wait to open each bag until you log on. And so each child is like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. But they do. They learn. They learn that they have to raise their hand or get my attention somehow before they unmute. So we're practicing like response inhibition. We're practicing sort of just awareness of their body, how they're thinking and feeling. And then when it comes to emotion regulation, that's emotion without commotion, training mission 3. I mean, We talk about the amygdala as a smoke detector. We talk about different strategies when you feel upset, frustrated, angry, why that happens. How does that happen for you? How do you know you're getting frustrated, upset, angry? They then talk to their parents about it. We talk about it as a group. And then we then learn different strategies to reset that smoke detector in our brain. And then we have practice. So, my goal is at the end of this course, we've at least onboarded parents and kids together so that they truly understand, their ADHD brain is their ADHD brain. And it's not a disability, it's their unique ability. They just need to learn how to harness it. Parents also get to see other kids in the Zoom room and, like, oh, look at my kiddo can stay, seated a little bit longer. That's amazing. It just normalizes things, right? Or, oh my gosh, he's standing up again. Oh, but there are other kids doing that too. So it's okay. It just helps all the families realize that, this is part of what having ADHD is, and we're all learning about it. So it's a lot of fun for me, and I do intend to keep doing this as long as I can, because I just think there's such a need out there. If COVID has taught me anything, I have seen so many families struggle with getting a first-time diagnosis, or just had a diagnosis but remote schooling, all of that. You know, kids couldn't learn, couldn't attend. It just made it worse. And there was such a need for this. And so, that's partly why I developed it. And I really just want to reach as many families as possible.
Yeah. And like, it's an investment in yourself. How much do we spend on some clothes, on some video games, on some different things that, after a month we might have lost interest in whatever, right? But here you're teaching them skills that are going to allow them to develop a foundation of self-trust in themselves, right? Like, not self-doubt and not negative inner critic. I mean, unfortunately, that negative inner critic was what got me to where I got.
Mm-hmm.
Did it sustain me? Well, almost, right? But why does it have to be that hard? It doesn't have to be. Why not do it in a smarter way, surrounded by the resources of using your own brain to be able to internally regulate yourself and have that feedback to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is one of those things where, how in Christmas everybody's like, okay, well, he wants this $500 like video game. Okay, grandparents, pay 200. Like, okay, this is one of those things where you need to find all your pennies wherever you have them. You need to bring them together, because this is a way for you to start to understand yourself. I mean, what a gift to be able to feel like you are okay, and no matter what comes to you, you're going to be able to sit in it. You might not know the answer right away, but you're going to figure it out, because you learn to trust your brain instead of continuing to sit in like, I'm too slow, I don't know how to do this, all this stuff that can sometimes, the demon part, like Dr. Hollowell says, shows their ugly head, right? So you
Yes.
need to be able to be like, I hear you, but that's not helpful right this second.
That's right. And because kids take this class with their parent, they know that they can lean on their parent too. And the parent then knows, they learn kind of ways in which to start those conversations, because it can be hard in the moment. And then, even after the 2 months of the class, I get this question a lot. What if we can't make one of the sessions? Well, don't worry. You've got access to the pre-recorded content, so you can always keep up. If for some reason one parent can only consistently make it, we want the other parent to be able to view the material too. So that's why you also have the video supplement. And then for 4 months after, you're still part of the Teach Me ADHD community, where you get interviews like this with Dr. Diana, with other specialists, psychologists, doctors, other therapists, other authors, to come in and be able to answer questions about ADHD parenting and anything related to ADHD. So it's really a wonderful community to think, learn, and grow together. And, this is my way of helping families get off on the right foot and rediscover fun. Rediscover fun. So if you are interested, please, please do not stop until you sign up today, especially because at 11:59 p.m., 10% discount goes away. So everybody loves a little bit of, a little bit of a deal here. So today is the last day for 10% off, but the agency doors will remain open until Sunday at 11:59. Classes start the week of March 20th. And then if you're worried about spring break, don't worry. I've gotten an extra week padded in there so that way I can survey the families who do sign up so we can kind of figure out how to work around everybody's spring break. We'll be done before Memorial Day so we can be off for the summer, enjoy that, and then agency doors open again in September. So until then, please make sure to look at some of the resources on my website. I have free mini class simulations. I have one this evening. That's where you and your junior detective can sign up, get the top secret invitation code to meet me at headquarters. I run it for 30 minutes so you can kind of see how your child reacts on Zoom. And then also later today, I'm going to be going live with my friend Lafayette Mitchell, who is also another regular guest coach who comes into the community to support families just like yours. Now, I just want to share with you that everything that I do in Training Mission 1, which is kind of helping kids talk about what ADHD is and reflect back on their strengths. I've taken some of those lessons and made it a free ADHD workbook for kids. So head over to my website, download that today, and get talking with your kid about ADHD in a positive way. Because again, we want them to know ADHD is their superpower. They can do whatever they want. They just need to learn about how their brain works so that they can thrive with it. So anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Diana, for coming on today, sharing your thoughts, and of course, always being a part of this amazing community. I really, really love every time we have these discussions, and you give some great advice, and I love it. So for those of you who have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Send me a DM, send me an email, but make sure you sign up today because those savings are not going to last long and then you're going to miss out. So don't do that. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks again for showing up.